Welcome to today's ETOA webinar. Thank you very much everyone for joining us. This is part of our series looking at individual source and destination markets covered by ETOA's membership and how they are getting through this unprecedented crisis. Today's focus is the German, Swiss and Austrian markets, both inbound and outbound to some degree, but it's also looking at how this market is adapting. It's drawn really strong interest. We have an audience of registrations of over 250 today, covering a whole range of markets. So I'd like to welcome people from Argentina, West Coast US, Canada, all the way from Australia, South Africa, as well as all across Europe today. So good morning, good afternoon. My name is Munro-Michell. I look after the international markets for ETOA, the tour operator markets, and also the German-speaking countries. So that's my focus. I'd like to introduce our panelists. We have from Appina Travel, Lintner, managing partner for a major inbound customized tour operator. We have Claudia Mitchell from Bayern Tourismus today, looking after international markets for marketing in Bavaria to the globe. And we have Marc Braendle from Sorrell Hotels in Switzerland, looking after, again, inbound business to a range of different properties across Switzerland. So we are sort of covering different areas and different segments of the market into and within the region. So I'm delighted to welcome everyone. We are still seeing participants join. We are almost up to 100 now already. So that's great news. And shall we start perhaps looking at what the situation has developed for you individually as companies and as destinations? Given that we are now, let's say from a UK perspective and most of Europe, over 100 days past the start of lockdown and special measures procedures, it would be good to understand how things have changed for your businesses over that time, how you have adapted. Can I start with Marc, perhaps, on that subject? Because, of course, Swiss hotels have technically been able to open, and it would be good to understand from your perspective, particularly compared with markets that have been very much locked down.
Yes, hello, everybody, from Switzerland. My name is Marc. I'm based in Zurich, and I would like to give you a short overview about the Sorrell hotels, that you have an idea what we are talking about. Sorrell Hotels is the largest and oldest Swiss hotel group, which was founded in 1897 as part of a non-profit organization. Today, we have 18 properties in the German-speaking part of Switzerland, and we are slowly expanding. So it's really like a Swiss style, peu à peu. That means from Eastern region to St. Gallen, Graubünden, Heideland, the typical Bad Ragaz, maybe some of you know that region, over the region of Zurich, Lake Zurich, Schaffhausen in the north with the famous Rhine Falls, and of course Basel and Bern, the capital. In all parts we have different types of guests, individual, corporate groups, leisure groups, families, also tours. And that's a little bit difficult to check which destination has which need. So during the beginning of the crisis, our full attention was always on the guests, keeping them up to date. We checked all hotels reservations, mainly events and group bookings, contacted them by phone and email, and informed them about the situation, what will happen with their bookings. We try to give our bookers as much as possible the freedom to rebook and new date free of charge, of course. And but due to the massive drop in occupancy, we had to close all hotels besides 4 properties, which was later reduced to 1 hotel. And for us, communication and personal connections are a big part in our industry, all of us. And we send out emails to all our clients and partners, no offers, just to say hello, how are you, how can we assist, what are you doing? And we also took the time, it's a little bit historical, we took the time to send handwritten postcards to the clients, and we updated them on the regulations, what's going on today in Switzerland, as we have now the new regulation that we have to wear masks from Monday in the public transport. So that's the situation in Switzerland at the moment for us.
Thank you very much, Marc. It's good to see the Swiss perspective particularly. Lewis, can I sort of ask you, you have clients globally as well as within Germany. How have you adapted to the situation?
Well, the situation was, at the beginning, was kind of overwhelming. It came everything very suddenly, and we had to basically close down within a week. We had basically a week, and since early March, we didn't see any groups anymore. So it was a big challenge. It came quite as a shock for all our staff, of course. We had to send them home. Luckily enough, we have help from government, so we are in a position to keep all our staff for the coming months. About a third of our staff, which is about 30, is working. It's mainly the salesperson or customer relations people. We have very little to operate, so it's only one or two who work in operations. And we're going to see the first group coming back as of this Saturday. So we are optimistic again.
That sounds very, very good news in terms of having the business come back, Lewis. Claudia, can I ask you, you as an organization have adapted considerably too.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thanks a lot, Jay, for inviting us to this panel. We're really honored to be part of it. And I represent the state of Bavaria. In our company, for example, we were pretty well set up also to work from home. So as soon as the pandemic reached Germany, our CEO sent us all home, the whole office. And I think as all of us, we quickly adopted to the new technology or to working with technology and doing conference calls, etc. And I think we provided a really good structure to all the staff. So we had daily calls with our CEO and we had coffee breaks, virtual ones. So the workflow was really, we could just keep working really efficiently. And also we used the time a lot to look into what are the topics we always wanted to look at, which we never had time to do. So did a lot of benchmarking and that kept us all really busy. Unfortunately, we could all still work full time. What we realized very, very quickly as Bavaria Tourism was the demand for us as a networking and service company. My boss had already, I mean, that whole discussion about being a destination marketing or destination management company, we have had that discussion for a long time within our company and we were on our way already. And COVID-19 showed us how important it is to pick up that role as a destination management company as well. So very quickly we set up new channels, new websites where we put together all the hygiene information we could locate and put that together as a kind of a sales, as a toolkit for our partners, hotels mainly. Then once travel was allowed, we came up with an extra microsite we called Verantwortliche Gastgeber, which means translated something like to be a responsible host. And there we collect all the information that we can get from the ministry, from the Robert Koch Institute, partners, etc., to give our partners a guidance in these difficult days and times, what they can do, how they can operate. And yeah, we realized how important it was that we took up that role that we defined for ourselves to be like a communicator, a counselor, a consultant to our partners, stakeholders, etc. And that, of course, at the same time, we looked into the marketing, which is the role we are always having. So very, very quickly, I think we were the first state in Germany. We launched a digital virtual tour through Bavaria. So we invited the guests in Germany and also abroad with an English microsite to come and visit Bavaria, experience the Bavarian lifestyle. And we used a lot of the content that we have already produced over the last years with our so-called Bavarian ambassadors. That's our marketing strategy right now. In the last years that we promote the whole state through over like 80 so-called Bavarian ambassadors. They represent Bavaria, the traditions, but also the modern life, the lifestyle. And we brought to the living rooms of our potential guests that couldn't come Bavarian music, Bavarian recipes, etc. And so that was the first step. But then, of course, as you all know, at the same time, we looked at recovery activities and developed in the background a campaign. We call it Rauskampagne, like get out again, meet people, which we launched immediately as soon as it was obvious that travel was allowed again, end of May. That campaign was, of course, more dedicated to the German-speaking markets, because we believe that with all the insecurities in international travel, that the German market will be the #1 market. So yeah, this campaign, the Rauskampagne, only exists in German. At the same time, we worked together with all the German states and launched a joint Germany campaign, which is the first time ever that this was done through the different states. And this is really also a beautiful campaign that encourages the German-speaking people and the neighboring countries to travel within Germany. And I don't know if you're aware, but German Rail has also just launched a huge campaign, the Bahnkampagne, with a big budget that's also, of course, focusing on the German-speaking market. And we were involved, of course, in all those campaigns and trying to inspire people to come to Bavaria.
Yeah. That's impressive, and it's good to see that collaboration across borders, across regions, especially given the fact that I think everyone's looking at any kind of collaboration going forward to make the most of the change in bookings and expected planning. Now, I'd like to ask if our audience, we have well over 100 participants today. If anyone would like to ask any questions, please enter your questions in the question panel today, and you can see that hopefully on your web screen here on this session today. One thing I would also like to do is launch our first poll, and it relates to whether you as an operator or as a business have noticed change in product interest from your client. So this is now popped up on your screen, hopefully. So the question relates to, has there been no change, or is it too early to say? Clients are seeking new health and safety assurances. Clients are seeking different products and destinations. Clients are seeking product away from cities. Or clients are more interested in smaller group or FIT packages. Now, you can select multiple if you so wish, because that may apply to you as well in your business. I can see the numbers are coming through in really good numbers, so fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone. Everyone's filling out the survey, the poll very quickly. So I'll give that another minute. Now, I will actually ask that to each of you in terms of the perception, if you've had conversations with clients. Maybe I can start with you, Lewis. Have you had responses from clients that ask related to group sizes or changing bookings so far?
Yes, definitely. We don't see so much of a change in terms of destinations, but what we definitely see is in group sizes, or we see a lot more interest in small groups. And from what we have on the books now for the coming months, groups are getting really smaller. And so is the interest in different products. So what we see is a change in what people want to see. Yeah, so we have what we experience is in Europe as well as from overseas, that what we're going to see for the next months or year is that travel budgets will be smaller. So people are more looking into what they want to do, and the products are getting more diverse. People looking for more deeper experiences. So basically, you could say that with a limited budget, if people want to spend money on travel, they want to make sure that they really get an experience, even more than before. So what we're currently doing is working on small groups itineraries, which means not just less people, but more experience, and giving them an experience of things they might not be able to see either when they travel alone or when they travel as a big group. Yeah? So that it should be a unique experience for small groups, and this is definitely a trend. Not so much a destination, but so smaller groups, definitely.
That's very interesting. I think we can actually share the results. We've had over around 3/4 of the participants in our session today vote, and that, as you say, absolutely, it's very much being led by the answer to clients more interested in smaller groups and FIT packages, and the health and safety aspect as well. Now, the health and safety aspect, of course, is complicated by so many operators working over multiple markets with cross-border product and experiences. Maybe I can ask Marc, in terms of the hotel side, what would you say is the biggest difference that you're seeing how you operate as a business with the health and hygiene side?
I think we don't see any big changes at the moment. We have a very low demand, so maybe by the end of the year, we already do get some inquiries. Of course, they place their dates and hoping that everything will be fine. But in general, the groups will be smaller, as everything is for social distances and so on. But in general, we don't see that changes at the moment.
Okay. And Claudia, has there been a sort of united move on the health and safety side in Germany and Bavaria?
I think in general, our Bavarian government did well for us in the tourism industry that, for example, the hotels were allowed to open full capacities right from the beginning, once they were allowed to open, which makes it so difficult for tour operators if they plan like cross-country packages or all over Germany, and they have to look at all the different regulations in every different state or country. So I think from that perspective, we were pretty fortunate, and we as Bavaria Tourism, together with the Bavarian Hotel Association, DEHOGA, we try to provide very quickly information to hotels about how they can set up their hotel hygiene concepts very quickly, and that goes down all the way to holiday apartments as well, right? So everybody had to come up with a hygiene concept and make sure that it's put in place. And I just think it really was a very close cooperation with the Bavarian Hotel Association, and we just tried to help to make it as easy as possible for the hotels to open and then come up with ideas how they could, for example, cater to less capacities that they could offer in restaurants. We provided them ideas. Okay, why don't you provide picnic baskets and invite the clients to go outside in the garden, etc. So there was a lot of brainstorming and counseling work in the background, which I mentioned earlier, that we were involved with.
Thank you, Claudia. Lewis, can I ask you where your first group has come from?
Can you actually see me?
Yes.
I lost somehow. But anyway, the first group is a German group traveling within Germany. Yeah. It's a Bavarian group going to Berlin.
So are you finding that it's also more complex because, of course, your tours are much more customized with whether it's churches or specific sites? Do you find that this is difficult to plan for at this stage?
It's definitely more challenging because there's a lot more to coordinate. It starts with breakfast, Many hotels have restricted or limited space because they have to put the tables 1.5 meters apart. So there's less people possible for breakfast at the same time. So we need to talk about breakfast times for groups. If it comes to guides, local guides, sometimes we local authorities have restricted group numbers, or sometimes it's just 10 people allowed to do a city tour, or 15 people. So we have to have more local guides. We need to plan more time for museums or attractions because sometimes the access is limited. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more complicated if you wish, but it's doable.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear that it's actually physically possible. It is one of the questions that comes up, particularly from our group's operators at the moment, is where they start, which destination, do they cross borders? How does a group look if they are going to commit to a tour? One of the panel questions that's popped up, of course, is related to that. Everyone seems to be looking at, particularly on the hotel side, everyone seems to be very much looking at how they create a safety concept for the hotels, for meetings. What does that look like for restaurants and rooms and so forth? So clearly, it's certainly reverberating in the audience that they're saying, look, we're having to look at everything and revisit everything, even if we may outwardly not appear to change much. So that's clearly a key point. I actually have a question also. How would you say that? How is your marketing and promotion changed? Claudia, you've already mentioned that it's been very much Germany campaigns, German-speaking market campaigns. Mm-hmm. Is that very much something you're focusing on in the next few weeks and months, or are you sort of layering that with international marketing campaigns as well, sort of come back when you're ready sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely the latter, Jay. We had several marketing activities in line when Corona hit, and we postponed, of course, everything that we could. Like, for example, this year we produced 3 Bavaria magazines for the Italian, Netherlands, Dutch, and the English market, and they were supposed to go out into the markets in April, and we delayed it to June, July, just to of course wait until travel is possible again, or almost possible again. And also we do cooperate a lot with the German National Tourist Board, and they have also delayed all their marketing activities in the second half of the year, and we are now working really very hard on getting everything ready, all the inputs, all the messages, think over what we want to say. Do we want to more inspire or encourage immediate booking? So all those discussions are running parallel to the marketing in the German market. And yes, of course, I mean, Bavaria is, we have 20% international visitors. So Germany is always been a strong market for us. So that's great. But of course, we want to have these 20% international visitors back. So we want to do everything to stay in the mindset of the potential visitors. And we're also doing our marketing planning for 2021 right now. And we would do the same markets. We're just debating maybe slightly changing the target groups, like talking the US. For a long time, we thought the more younger millennials should be our target group. Everybody wants to target them. And now we have to, of course, rethink, should we maybe focus more on the empty nesters, just because they might be the ones who have more time, more money, and got potentially better out of the crisis. So those things are done, of course, in the background, but in general, we are ready and here to do marketing for the international markets and also work with the international tour operators. And we want to keep doing that.
That's good to hear. Marc, is that the same for you?
It's yes, it's really the same. We are traveling a lot. We from Sorrell hotels, and therefore we have a lot of personal contacts in most countries. And we have the big advantage of Switzerland Tourism Board of the Switzerland International, and they do a lot for the international guests. They make a lot of activities. Yes, we know each other, and that's a good tool for us to work over them, to inform everybody. They do a lot of events and information events. So yes, I think there's a good communication abroad.
That's good to hear. And Lewis, how are you finding that? Your clients are North American, German, all cross sections.
We see a lot of need of information, and so this is what we do. Basically, we send out, or we try to send out bi-weekly newsletters where we give, let's say, information on regulations, etc. I mean, Europe is so many countries. Within Germany, we have a lot of states, so it's complicated, and it's hard to keep track on that. So we try to give out the information. We operate 2 offices in overseas, one in Toronto for the North American market and one in Sao Paulo for Brazil and Latin America, and we have our people still sitting there and doing phone calls. They're not traveling, obviously, but they do phone calls from morning to the evening, and this is what our clients need, is get this information and reassurance. And yeah, and I myself will have my first sales call as of next week to Switzerland again. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's great news. Excellent. Now, we've actually got a couple of questions that have come through, and one operator is asking that many of their agents are asking for all hotels to offer cleaning, so offer specifically additional reassurance, breakfast, check-in system. They're asking questions about that and if there are any changes to that, I guess. And one of the issues that this operator is then saying is, of course, they need to ask the hotels to be much clearer about their policies on their websites. So that's one of the things that has come up. So maybe, Marc, that's something that you want to sort of highlight. How are you explaining any changes or any tweaks to how you welcome guests to hotel properties?
So I think it's always and everywhere visible, the rules, what your behavior during in the restaurant, during check-in, and also what the hotels or what we do from our side, like the cleanings and the obligated work what we have to do. And I don't think that there's anything missing regarding that rules what we are doing. So it's always and everywhere present. Okay. It's always on the website. We have everything from the health agency. We have all the rules are there published, and we can always send it out to the clients as well.
That's good. And Lewis, are you finding that you're having to explain that in more detail to clients in terms of health and safety regimes? I think you mentioned that the questions are coming in.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, the hotel clients are asking what hotel is doing, and it's so what we do is we talk to the hotel and we get this information onto our client. But that's not, as far as I see, it's not a big issue. They're more concerned on how to travel on coaches and how many seats can be filled and what's going on with masks. So this is a little worrying more people. Yes.
Thank you, Lewis. Now, this is one perhaps for Claudia as well. So the question has come in from one operator. Germany had planned for this year the 42nd edition of Oberammergau, and it's clearly been postponed to 2022. So why has it perhaps not been postponed to 2021? So that, I guess, is a very good question to ask. Perhaps, you know, it might not be your expertise, but it'd be good to know if you know of any reasons why. The question is also saying, is it the logistics potentially?
Maybe Louis Lintner can even help me out, and he is even more aware of it because he was involved, of course, in the booking of tickets for his clients. What I know about is that when it was all about postponing the Passion Play, that it was mainly the logistics, that 2021 would have been too early. I mean, you have to think about the whole town is more or less involved into the place. They give up their normal jobs. Some of them, more or less every adult is part of the crew of the team on stage. And what I have heard when it was postponed was just, it's a matter of they can't do it a year after, because then people would have been more or less out of their normal occupation for like 2 years straight. But I don't know, Louis Lintner, please correct me if I'm wrong or if you want to add something, but that was what what we were informed.
I think you're absolutely correct. I think it was more of an organizational question, and also probably I have no official information on that, but I guess also it's a matter of the contracts hotels might have for 2021. What we have seen is for 2022, the almost all groups have been moved on to 22, and so that was easier than expected. Yeah, so but we are happy that you know, people still want to do that.
That's good news. Good. And I guess especially right now, we're all concerned as to what early next year looks like in terms of the health crisis calming down, hopefully, but 2022 gives us more time to plan for that. I would like to launch a second poll, and this means that we can ask a few more questions to our audience, and I'm keen to sort of find out from our audience in terms of what they perceive the long-haul tourism market to Europe to look like. Will it diversify into more destinations? So it's a simple question of do you agree, strongly agree, or disagree, or neither disagree or disagree. Now the last point says agree, but it should say disagree. Apologies for that. So does long-haul tourism to Europe look like it will diversify into more destinations, more locations? Be good to hear from our audience in terms of their thoughts on that. So while we're waiting for our audience to sort of give feedback on that, we've had one panelist, one question come up with the suggestion that they definitely think that groups are getting smaller, and that the inquiries are coming through for smaller groups, and it's becoming more bespoke, more personalized and unique in content. So that's interesting, the sort of feedback from one regional operator. Another question has come up with, and this is a good one, perhaps to ask Marc, with all the changes to the health and safety and so forth, and all the numbers changing in terms of bookings, do you think that it'll have an impact on hotel prices? Will they go up, or will they have no impact over the next few months to the coming year? So maybe Marc can answer that.
Oh, good question. At the moment, the hotel prices are according to the market. That does not mean that we make any offers or dumping prices. And I think the market is stable regarding the room rates and the conditions. And we will have a look. We're just opening the hotels. Also, we have 2 new openings in Zurich and St. Gallen, and we got the really more than awaited bookings. And so as I can see, our rates, it's more or less on the normal way, let's say.
That's good to know. That's good to hear. Lewis, is that your feedback? Are you getting any kind of responses from hotels when they're saying if you're postponing bookings, are the prices looking much different or?
No, actually, we as Appina Travel, we definitely keep all rates when groups are moving onto next year, even for 22 in most cases, and we don't see any question with hotels. I mean, most of hotels are very helpful keeping the rates, even you know, even when groups getting smaller. You know, we have often a situation that initially we had like 30 or 40 people on that group, and now the group is getting smaller, down to 15, 18, 20. So we even keep the rates with that number. And we also have changed cancellation periods. With most of the hotels, we could agree on shorter cancellation periods, which is very, very helpful.
That is indeed helpful, exactly, and especially when your groups are changing and they need that flexibility. Yes. So I think we can close this poll. Let's just see. Thank you very much. Let's see what the feedback is from the latest poll. We have very much an agreement that the feeling is from the respondents is that long-haul tourism to Europe will diversify to even more destinations. Many are sort of uncertain as to which direction it will go, but certainly there seems to be majority agreement that diversification is perhaps the way forward. And I guess this is a question I have to Lewis here as well. Are you seeing inquiries shifting away from cities, or is it very much focused on the same type of experiences that people have asked about?
We don't see any shifting away from cities, actually. As I mentioned before, we see the destination doesn't really, if you look at the German-speaking countries, if it comes to the whole of Europe, then there might be changes. You know, at the moment we have a difficult, or we used to have a difficult situation in Italy. So we had some groups moving from Italy to Germany or Austria. This we see that, and in general we see an increase in interest of for Central Europe or Eastern Europe as well. That might be because some people or clients consider those destinations as safer than others.
And maybe Claudia, have you had any sort of feedback from operators saying they might avoid certain locations, or would they sort of continue but with smaller numbers?
The feedback we're getting from European tour operators, and I'm talking mainly, let's say, Dutch tour operators or also UK tour operators, although the whole border issue is not solved, is that they're definitely looking into new product within Germany and for us within Bavaria. Because I had the feeling their idea was to come up with new product for their clients and show them that they react to the crisis by going more local, like where you can go to by car, by train, or maybe by coach and not have to fly. But I doubt honestly that it will will lead to a much bigger diversity. I believe that tour operators might look for new product now and hopefully it's established and then stays in their brochures for the next future as well. But I doubt that all of a sudden they will go in completely tons of new places. And especially when you're coming from long haul, my experience and our experience is that people still have places on their bucket list where they want to go to, and they might try to combine it where they feel safer, like in their, I mean, it's all also a mental situation, how safe do you feel? And I think we as Germany, we will definitely benefit from that whole situation, because worldwide we came across as really a nation that handled Corona very well. So I think that for long haul, it might be a benefit for us that tour operators might even start their trip in Germany, where in the past they might have started it in Italy or in France, in Paris maybe. And Munich, for example, they are really driving up their capacities again, the airport. Lufthansa is planning to have 70% of the frequencies back, not the size of the planes, but the number of routes and everything. And I think this is a big chance for us as Bavaria and Germany, that people might start their trip here and then maybe, as Louis also said, go a little bit into the Eastern European countries, but tour around here rather than maybe like in the past very often Italy was the entrance to Europe or France. And I see for us a chance, and also doubt that it will create much more diversity, because especially from long haul, people have their bucket list which they want to tick off, and I think they might earlier go on a European trip that they have saved for and dreamed of for a while than maybe putting in another Mexico trip. My belief.
Yeah, interesting. Marc, are you seeing much of a change in terms of booking inquiries? I know you've opened up new properties as well.
Yes, we do, and probably the smaller destinations will win more market share. I think Switzerland, for example, it's a small place where you get everything from the water, mountains, cities, food, wine. It's within a few hours you can travel through the country, and we still have, thanks to Switzerland Tourism, the Grand Tour of Switzerland. So you can begin in Zurich, you can do it in 2 days, 5 days, 14 days. So you have a really cool tour by car, by train, and that helps a lot to the foreigners and also to the people. I don't think that they will travel from Paris to Zurich, to Berlin, to Vienna. So I think it will be in a smaller circle, in a smaller area in the near future.
Yeah, just on the subject of hotels, one of our panelists inquiries is particularly looking at the issue of their group bookings into Germany and Switzerland. They're saying that it's very tough dealing with some of the hotels, that they're not returning deposits for prepayments made, and they're asking what legislation there might be to reassure future bookings, group bookings. It's particularly obviously an issue with people not knowing when groups are going to be traveling going forward. So I don't know, I guess, Marc, you've been trying to manage some flexibility on that as well for your clients?
Cool, it's difficult to say. No, in general, we have a prepayment on the most of the tour operators worldwide, and if they cannot travel for a certain reason, maybe for some lockdowns or something like that, of course there's some reimbursement. But I think we also give the opportunity to cancel 4 weeks prior arrival. So that's also a good opportunity. And now, as we had during this time, we were always in contact with the tour operators, or with the groups, or with the travel agencies. So if you don't know what will happen next week, or let's say in 3 weeks, so still keep the booking, so we can negotiate how can we do that together, because we are all in one boat, and it's not the thing to force the payment, because we work together and not against each other.
Absolutely, everyone's in this continuous chain of bookings and clients. Louis, are you finding that hotels being reasonably flexible, or is it varied?
In Germany, also Switzerland, we didn't see any major problems. We had some issues in France where they had the voucher scheme, some problems in Italy as well. But mostly we got the money back. So we didn't face big problems with that, but in order to get the clients back, we need to change. We as a DMC have to do our homework together with the hotels changing the cancellation periods, shortening those and payment, because it will be very, very hard to convince any tour operator to pay like 7-8 weeks before you travel, as a lot of hotels have asked so far. So we have actually, we're currently negotiating contracts, and what we do is negotiating contracts for 2 years out, which we haven't done so much in the past, but this is what we do now. We do contracts with hotels 2 years out, so we can guarantee that the conditions will not always stay the same for at least the next 2 years.
Thank you very much for that. And this is probably more your area, Claudia, but of course it relates more to international marketing and promotion. One of our inquiries is just to say, are you aware that there's some reduction in presence by the German National Tourist Office in some markets, particularly Australia and South America, potentially in Singapore? And do you think that will affect Bavaria's marketing efforts, or is that they're just going to be more collaboration, do you think?
Number one, I'm not really aware of what's happening in that field. But the markets that you were mentioning just now, like Latin America or Australia, are not those markets that we focus on ourselves anyway, not in the past, and we won't in the future. Just because out of budget and manpower reasons, we had to focus on markets, and 2 years ago, we made a really clear cut and decided to focus on less markets. And those are, and the markets we are focusing on right now are really the European closer markets: Netherlands, UK, Italy, France, Poland, and then in the long haul destinations, it's mainly US, Canada, and China, a little bit Japan and South Korea. But
yeah,
those markets that you mentioned are not in our, let's say, active marketing work.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
No, that's fine. That's the thing, that everyone's working with more defined resources. Lewis, you've got South America in your portfolio of markets. Does that mean you have to stand alone, perhaps?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
For the South American market, if there's the GNTO is unable to run an office locally, perhaps you become the force behind the marketing effort.
We have the GNTO has an office in Sao Paulo, and they are very, very helpful. Actually, we have done a lot together, and we are planning to do marketing campaigns. Actually, hopefully as of this October. They have a new office in Buenos Aires, and they're very active as well. So we are not alone, but there's not many DMCs, I think, active on that market. South America, Brazil, it's hard to predict what's happening there. The only thing I see is that they are like 6-7 weeks behind Germany, and wait, and see how things evolve there. But the market clients there are there, they are willing to come back. That's not the challenge. Is not the clients, the tour operators. We have only B2B, so all of our clients want to get the business back. Obviously, it's more a question what travelers will do.
Of course, indeed, as soon as it's possible. As Claudia has mentioned, obviously Lufthansa is coming back, and its sister airlines are bringing back routes, which is fantastic news. One of the questions being raised is also, do the panelists feel that there's going to be a decrease in the booking pattern from OTAs potentially, as hotels try to reduce their allocated availability to OTAs? So perhaps Marc, maybe you can offer some insight, or do you think no, it's business as usual?
I would say it's business as usual. As from the 18 hotels, we have a few of them which can receive larger groups, and therefore it's quite limited, the the offer from our side. In general, we get you can have luck in Zurich, for example, that you get some 10 rooms or 15 rooms one day, but that still depends on the occupancy of the destination or of the hotel.
Yeah, good to know. I'd like to launch the last poll, and it relates to demand relative to the German, Swiss and Austrian regions versus the increase post-COVID-19. Do you expect as a operator or business to have higher demand, no change, or lower demand to Germany, Austria and Switzerland, or within those markets if you're working within any of these countries? I know that a number of businesses have, as the commonly used word is, pivoted towards local demand. I know, Marc, perhaps you've got a bit of feedback in terms of whether you've seen demand locally pick up at all.
I think that there will be a increase of from the Germany and Austria to Switzerland, as it's very close to each other, and also let's say it's a safer country in this area, and all these three countries are let's say safe, more or less, and I think we will get some more bookings or an increase from these areas. Also due to the mountains, as they are already fully booked, maybe in Austria as well, or in Bavaria. So we are in a good view to big countries.
And Claudia, I guess your work in the German campaigns, I guess, will have a big impact, hopefully.
Yeah, we do hope so, of course. Yeah, and it's for the German market, and also, of course, we hope more of our Swiss and Austrian tourists coming to us. Those two markets, by the way, are the highest international source markets for Bavaria. So we hope that we have an increase from our two neighboring countries as well.
Absolutely. And Lewis, we know that you've got a German group traveling in Germany. Are you getting that kind of response from other groups potentially?
Oh yeah, definitely. The groups traveling within the German-speaking countries, or the volume will definitely increase this and next year. We see that very clearly, and so we're working on new programs and new itineraries, contracting new hotels to deal with that increased demand. Yeah.
Great. Good news. Okay, now let's have a look at the results of this poll. I think we have lovely to see higher demand is the overwhelming majority view. No change is significant minority, but lower demand is very much the minority. So that's really good news. I think that's all supported by the feedback from as we've said, with Claudia's mentioning the perception of Germany, and I think Austria for sure, with managing the infection rate so low. Switzerland as well, having managed it very matter of fact. And I think different marketing boards have been very much welcoming people back as and when you're ready, which has been very consistent across all markets as well. So that's been really good news as well. So I think that's very positive news. It's good to end the session today on a high note. We do have one more question also. It's from one operator who's asking, what do you see in terms of demographics for your average group? Is it an older demographic or a younger demographic? Particularly those that are planning to travel. If you know this. Obviously it's difficult to tell with different group average ages.
Maybe if there are a lot of warnings for elder people, it would be, as in the near future, it will change or could change. I don't know. Here in Switzerland, all the older people are running around like nothing, and but I don't know if they're really traveling abroad.
Yeah.
So that will be the next surprise for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fantastic. And Claudia, are you seeing sort of, if you said that you're probably looking at more the empty nesters potentially as a market to work with?
Yeah, that's what I hear from my colleagues who are in close touch with the tour operators, that those are mainly also the inquiries they get. I completely agree with Marc. If the people then are really taking the decision and hop on an airplane, that's the second thing. But the dream of traveling is definitely there. And I think that's, for us, mainly the empty nesters. If I think of long haul, if we're talking European travel, I think it's very different. There we are definitely thinking that Germany might be a destination all of a sudden for people from, let's say, the Netherlands, who are looking into like a classical relaxation holidays combined with a little bit of outdoor activities, not like the top mountain biker, but let's say the couple that wants to just have a safe, nice holiday where they can potentially travel back home if necessary, where they can avoid the crowds if they want to, but still have like a lively guest house running. So I think we're talking different target groups for different regions in the world right now. But for long haul, and for group travel, I believe it's more like the empty nesters and slightly elderly generations.
Yeah. It's good to understand that. And then we certainly had a group meeting of operators just yesterday, and the feedback has just definitely been that although the group sizes are smaller, the interest and demand from operators is absolutely there, because the clients are asking to travel, and that's really, really good news. Even if the numbers are smaller, the feedback is absolutely, whether it's the US, other markets. And we've also spoken, heard from operators with business from China. Again, it has been postponed into early 2021. So the business is for sure there. Fantastic. Thank you very much for all your participation. We've all been through an exceptionally difficult second quarter in 2020. It has been exceptionally difficult in terms of businesses having to hibernate, and people having to try and manage expectations and changing situations across different markets at different rates. And I think the practicalities of getting back to business are very much what everyone is now focusing on, as well as reacquainting clients with destinations, seeing them in a new light in the positioning of post-COVID-19 world. And I think we will hopefully see much more of a sort of positive trend over the summer, that not just the local market will pick up, but the bookings will actually materialize. So I think it's really good news in terms of what we're hearing from different long haul markets as well. So hopefully we'll have much more positive news in the third quarter when we finalize this part of the year. So I just wanted to say thank you very much to our panelists today, to Claudia from Bavaria Tourism, Marc from Sorrell Hotels, and Luis from Appina Travel. You've all given a very good insight into the different sectors that you represent, and it is very much appreciated. I know the audience is kept very high, well over 100 now still, taking part in today's session, and plenty of questions came in. So thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.